Joe Biden tends to get a little testy when people who go to his campaign events ask him questions that he doesn't really want to answer or doesn't like. And the latest example comes out of Iowa when a gentleman approached him to talk about pipelines. He appears to have an issue with the construction of pipelines and wanted to ask Biden about it. Biden certainly did get testy. Take a look.
We're going to support you if you win the nominations. We got to get rid of Trump. But what are we going to do about climate change? Now, you say you're against pipelines, but then you want to replace these gas lines. That's not going to work. We got to stop building and replacing pipelines.
You got to go vote for somebody else.
All right, thanks so much, sir. We're going to have you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm going to vote you in the general if you treat me right.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm not.
Well, can I have
Look, you're asking a picture of me. You're coming up and telling me you don't support me.
No.
My plan. Yeah, you did. You said
I said I would support you in the general.
In the general. I'm looking for a primary.
We're happy to get a number. We can follow up.
That's what I'm looking for, okay?
Just because we're trying to get.
You believe that Bernie can do something and by 2030?
I'm actually supporting Trump's tire.
Thompson, well, that's good. He's the guy that did more
Thanks so much,
coal
sir. We have a long line right here.
Long line. More coal than the entire country did.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Happy to get information.
Can we get a picture?
So he accuses him of being a Bernie supporter, but he says, no, I'm voting for Steyer. But it doesn't matter. That gentleman was super respectful, asked him a decent, substantive question. And Biden, I mean, this is not the first time he's done this, where he just tells someone, go vote for someone else.
Immediately, just go.
I mean, he did do it immediately.
Yeah.
And the guy didn't raise his voice. I thought that his tone was respectful. And
It seemed very nice.
It's a legitimate question. Also, like, Biden's got to stop touching people like that. It's very strange. Like, he kind of grabs him by his jacket at one point.
He pushed him already. He puts like both fists against his jacket. I don't know if it's like an implication that he learned the 1-inch punch from Bruce Lee.
No, I mean,
yeah, look at that. He's pressing his. Oh, he's touching. Yeah.
Okay, look, I don't want to be like Joy Reid's body language expert. Okay, that was a shameful segment. So I don't mean to like make a big deal out of something that might be small. I just know personally that if someone grabbed my jacket like that after I've asked them a question they don't like, I would feel like they're trying to intimidate me.
Yeah.
But I know that Biden's a very physical guy. I don't think that that was his intention. He just needs to consider how these moments come off.
Yeah, it's not. He's not going to punch the guy in the face or anything. And look, that's an improvement from there was an environmentalist. Remember, he once he put his hands like around the guy's neck. Yeah. It was like, that was weird. So everything you saw there, for like, if you were a person who was starting to run for a political office, you'd be disqualified after all that. Like you don't have any idea how you're supposed to interact with the public. You're going to be approached by people who don't agree with you, and you're going to be personally like frustrated by that. But to immediately say vote for someone else. Then the guy gives him an out when he's like, so who do you support? He's like, well, I'll support you, in the general. He's like, I don't want it. Like he said, in the general, if you treat me right.
Right.
Okay, then just treat him right now. Like, okay, maybe you can't win him in the primary, but you're being filmed. You're surrounded by potential supporters. How can you be this dense about the message that you're sending? And if he's, as we're gonna show you, we have many instances of him on tape doing this. I have to assume sometimes people don't have a phone on him. How many more people are having this sort of interaction with Joe Biden?
I don't know, and what comes across for me, and I know people will have different perspectives, is this certain level of arrogance, like almost like this entitlement.
Yeah.
Like, of course you should vote for me. Why do I have to explain myself on these important issues? In fact, it certainly came across during Biden's interview with the editorial board of the New York Times. Now, we talked about the New York Times endorsement and we gave our 2 cents on that, but I actually do commend the members of the board for being transparent about their process and releasing the interviews they had with all these candidates, because despite some of the establishment spin and perspective coming from the editorial board, I thought that the interviews were enlightening. I listened to the Biden interview today and came across this portion of the conversation that blew my mind, okay? Like, just get a load of the arrogance in Biden's answer here. Take a look.
As the second oldest Democratic candidate, Mr. Biden has highlighted some of the generational gaps in his ability to relate to younger voters like millennials. He's even gone as far as to say he had no empathy for their generation's problems like mounting student loan debt. Naturally, we asked him to put that in context.
You've expressed very little interest in entertaining millennials' concerns and complaints about the problems that they face, whether it's student debt, Well, you have said, I have no empathy for it. Give me a break in terms of like things that they've been concerned about with the way in which the older generations have more or less made things worse for them as a generation. So, do you think that millennials have less of a burden?
So let's get it straight, okay? What I said I had no sympathy about was, I made a commencement speech, I don't know which was, either Yale or Harvard, they're back-to-back 2 years. And a study came out showing that although there was the most generous, most progressive, most involved generation in history, the best educated, which I paid tribute to because I have 3 granddaughters who are all part of that, and my daughter is a social worker with a master's degree, doing great work, etc. It also said something like only 16% of young millennials would, in fact, run for public office. So I was at a university and they said, well, why should we get involved? It's all dirty. I said, I want to hear it. Don't whine to me. I got the same lecture in 1972 when I was in the middle of, there was a Vietnam War. Or I got the same thing was told in 1965 when I got involved in the civil rights movement. Don't get involved, but you got to get involved.
So laughing when a reporter or a member of the media asks you about student loan debt is not a good look, because that has, just hindered the progress of people's lives. Like, people aren't even able to buy homes, get married. Like, that student loan debt is crippling for so many people, not just millennials. And for him to laugh at it, I think it goes to the arrogance point that I was trying to make earlier. That is not a laughing matter. It's not funny, it's not cute. Then he talks about like, well, 1972, I got politically involved and I made a difference. And all of this like big talk about what you did as a young person. And it's not 1972. This country's democracy has been scaled back considerably since 1972 when it comes to campaign finance, Citizens United. The corruption like just oozes from so many of our elected officials, including people on the left.
Yeah.
So it's just, I thought that was a weird way of answering the question. I thought it was super arrogant and it really rubbed me the wrong way. Like listening to him laugh twice at the student loan debt issue.
Yeah, and it's weird that it's probably not going to be that damaging in the long run. That she teed it up that you had said you had no sympathy for these broad social economic issues that you should definitely have sympathy for. She starts to explain, he then laughs at all the wrong points about like student loan debt, and then he goes off to his explanation. And so we're supposed to believe, no, that's not what I have no sympathy about. That's not what I'm laughing about. It's really this thing about the apathy. But she wasn't talking about apathy and then you laughed about it. Right. She was talking specifically about these economic issues that have nothing to do with like being so apathetic that you're not getting involved with a war or something. That was not an answer to the concern that she expressed.
That's such a good point. And then also, all right, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt and believe him when he says that he's just trying to encourage young people to get politically active. What would his reaction be to a young person who approaches him and asks him a tough question about student loan debt?
Don't vote for me.
Go vote for someone else. I mean, your actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a sense of entitlement coming from a candidate like Joe Biden. I see it a little bit with Buttigieg as well. And no, you gotta earn it. It doesn't matter that you had this long career in politics. It doesn't matter that you were the former VP. You have to earn it, and you have to show people that you have a vision for this country that inspires them, that they wanna vote for. And so I obviously have not endorsed him. My preferred candidate is Bernie Sanders. So it is what it is. It's not like he's doing anything that's hurting the candidate that I prefer. But as someone who would advise him in his campaign, this is not a good look. And the people who are advising him need to have a talk with him so he can understand that laughing off genuine concerns of the American people is not gonna help him win. It's not a winning strategy.
Yeah, and also when he says he doesn't have any sympathy, I would say, first of all, like you say that you're on the left, you should have sympathy, not only because it's sort of like a value that we have, is that we have compassion for people, we have empathy, but also if you had sympathy for these people, it might cause you to actually think about what you're talking about. What does student loan debt actually represent? Not loan debt that you get from a 1972 college degree where it's like you owe $30 and like 6 eggs or something. We're talking about crushing 10, 20, 50, $100,000. Because then you say, forget all that stuff, just get politically involved. And I wish I could take him by the front of his jacket and be like, you know what makes it hard to run for Congress? $50,000 in student loan debt makes it pretty damn hard to pursue any political office. We had Nabila Islam on this on the damage report this morning, and she is trying to get the FEC to provide a waiver for the first time ever so that she can use campaign funds to help cover some of her health costs while she's running. Because if you're running for office for 12 months or 18 months, and you can't work, because if you do work, you have no time to campaign, you have no chance of winning, then if you don't already have $1 million of your own dollars to spend, how are you supposed to pay for childcare, people to watch your kids, your health care, your rent, and to pay off your student loan debt during all of that? But he doesn't have sympathy, so he doesn't have any thought to spare for the problem. He doesn't understand the connection between those issues.
Don't miss your chance to win a trip to Los Angeles and have dinner with Cenk, John, and me. Just head to tyt.com/dinnerinla to register to win. Sign up for a free Aspiration Spend and Save account. Then you just register your eligibility and swipe your Aspiration card daily on purchases to gain entries. Not only are you entering to win a trip to Los Angeles and dinner with TYT hosts, you're also not depositing your hard-earned money into fossil fuel exploration or production. As a friendly reminder, even if you already have an Aspiration account, you must still register for eligibility into the sweepstakes.